because why not? Let's see what comes out. Okay. So we'll meet standing. Take your time to get there. We're going to pretty much come straight into movement because there are lots of points in this little practice where we will pause for stillness, so we can kind of incorporate that dropping into the body over and over and over again, rather than simply doing it at the beginning and at the end. Is my plan anyway, that's my intention. So let's think a little bit about our kind of standing position. Feet want to be firmly planted, sort of hip width distance apart, maybe just a touch wider if that makes you feel more stable. I'm actually going to take my socks off, even though it's not that warm in here, but it feels like the right thing to do. So, feet firmly planted. Find your footing, maybe thinking about, what am I doing? I'm transferring weight, seeing how it feels to redistribute the weight, rocking side to side, backwards and forwards might just allow you to encourage the feet to connect more solidly with the mat underneath you. You could think about another thing that's quite nice when you're kind of trying to find that stable position is lifting all your toes up, spreading them out wide and seeing if you can lay them down again so they really connect with the mat. Once you've got your feet in a place that makes sense, have a little think about how the legs are feeling. We're trying to avoid that locked out, rigid leg sensation, and instead we want to invite just a little springiness, a little bit of buoyancy into the knees, the sensation of a long, flat lower back, which comes from a very subtle drawing up and in of the low belly, really tiny, not like you're trying to kind of clench for a centerfold photo shoot, more just like you're kind of trying to be aware of these lower belly muscles. Arms can hang heavy by your sides. You might just take a moment to loosen off your shoulders and the back of your neck. Any little wiggles that you need to make before we come into that movement, you're very welcome to make them. And when you feel yourself settled, let's take one breath in stillness. In your own time, a slow inhale. A slow exhale. We'll head straight into it. We're simply going to begin with a kind of loosening up of the upper body. So we'll bend into one knee and notice how that shifts the body, shifts the arms. We'll switch and bend into the other knee and just start a swinging of the arms. The arms are really relaxed. They're not helping at all with the movement, it's just happening. And as you begin this, we can start it really slowly because we're going to do this for a little while. As you begin this, really slowly, really gently, you're starting to maybe be a bit aware of how the body feels. This movement is such a good way to kind of get things moving in the body, get a bit of kind of energy shifting around. Your hands might tap against the front of your body, the front of your belly and hips, or the sides of your bum, or the top of your bum and lower back. All of that is okay. You want to try and allow it to happen quite lightly. Let the shoulders be soft. If you find that you're somebody who gets a bit dizzy with this movement, or you don't like the sensation of taking it up into the neck, you can do what I'm doing now and just hold your focus. So you keep the head in a pretty still position. If you're quite comfortable with it, you can bring the head with the movement. Maybe starting perhaps to bring it up to find a bit more of that centrifugal force, allowing the arms to really get very loose and make big circles. All the way up to your kind of your sort of top speed while keeping it effortless, if that makes sense. You're not really putting in any work to make this more intense. When you're ready, we'll just gently allow it to come back down a little bit. So we'll ease off in terms of the effort we're putting in, if any at all. And then eventually we'll just stop the movement of the legs and allow the arms to drift to stillness by the sides of the body. They take their time to get there. Take a slow inhale breath through your nose. A slow exhale breath, however you want it, maybe a sigh. And then into something just a little bit different, but quite similar in feeling. We're going to inhale and just swing the arms up overhead. And like you were skiing, as you exhale, you're going to allow the arms to slide forwards, and I'm going to do this from the side so you can see what I'm doing. You're going to allow the arms to slide forwards and down as you let the body hang. We'll keep that going. We'll keep it going really gently. You'll notice I've gone for a bend in my knees to keep my lower back comfortable. Inhale breath is going to swing the arms up overhead. Exhale breath, you just let it all go, like a rag doll switching off. I'm not throwing my body forwards, I'm just allowing it to softly fall. We'll keep that going in your own time. Inhale rises up. Exhale, you let it drop. We're going to go for 2 more, inhaling to rise. Exhaling to fall. Maybe a big sigh as you fall forwards. Last one, inhale, we'll rise up. Exhale, let it drop all the way in to that forward fold. Maybe hanging out over the legs feels nice. When you're ready from here, we'll come into a more familiar forward fold, whatever that looks like for you. So perhaps you're going to pedal out the legs, bend one knee then the other. Perhaps you're going to take hold of opposite elbows and let the body hang like a rag doll. Perhaps you are going to rest your elbows on your knees to take some of the pressure out of your lower back. That is totally a cool place to be. You can hang your head instead of letting the body down. This actually feels like a good fit for me right now. Maybe a little bit of movement feels good while you're in these shapes. Just a couple of breaths in our forward fold, noticing how the body feels when it's turned upside down. Same as a handstand. When you feel ready. If you've got any kind of a grip, so if you're holding hands on elbows or if you've got elbows on knees, just let the arms dangle. Put a deeper bend in your knees than you think you need. Pull the belly up and in towards the spine, and we're going to go for a really slow roll up to stand. So really slow, take your time. See if you can stack each and every vertebrae of the back onto kind of following vertebrae, each bone stacking in place, one on top of the next. Try not to let me be the last person to standing, which is always what happens. The shoulders roll back, the head lifts, the neck stacks. You'll find yourself back upright. You might want to make a little bit of movement. You might want to roll shoulders or neck. Okay, from here into something that feels maybe a bit more familiar. We're going to come into that half sun A. This is the part of the practice where we will kind of be most in our kind of looping little series, our rise and fall. So this bit is for you to enjoy if that's what you really love. So find your footing. When you're ready, it's an inhale breath, arms rise up as high as makes sense for you. So if you're somebody with tight shoulders or stiffness or soreness, you keep those arms wide. If you got much more room, maybe you can come right the way up to the top. It's up to you. Inhale breath, arms rise. Exhale breath, you're going to fold in long over your legs, bend your knees as you go. Find your way down. Perhaps fingertips brush the floor, perhaps they don't. It's entirely kind of personal preference. We're going to come into our halfway lift, sliding the hands up the fronts of the shins until the palms of the hands are just above the kneecaps and the elbows snap in alongside the ribcage. You'll have a flat back, that ironing board back. Inhale breath here, lengthen. Exhale breath, you're going to fold back in, hands slide back down the legs, all the way down as far as it's comfortable for you to go. Push the floor away through your feet. Inhale breath, rise to stand. Arms reach up and out. Nice. Exhale breath, hands come down however you like. Maybe come down through prayer, maybe they sweep down by your sides, whatever works for you, whatever feels like a good fit in your body right now. We're going to do that twice more, sticking with the rhythm of the breath. When you're ready, inhale, big breath in, arms reach up. Breath out, bend the knees, fold the body forwards, sensitive around the lower back. Just go carefully through that. Bring yourself straight into your halfway lift, sliding the hands, snapping in the elbows and inhaling to lengthen the back body, flat back, all the way from the back of your head to your tailbone. I can balance a tray of drinks on you. Nice. Exhale, fold your way back in. Let the hands slide down the legs. Let the head go at the bottom. Push the floor away through your feet. Take your arms up and out wide as you inhale, rise to stand. Nice. Exhale, breath brings the hands down however you like, whatever works for you. A little moment to pause in stillness. And then we'll go back in, last round like that, inhaling, the arms rise up. Exhaling, you're going to fold in, bend the knees, go gently, go carefully. Halfway lift, so hands slide, elbows hug in, shoulders draw away from the ears as you breathe in, lengthen through the body. Dig the heels into the mat. Exhale, fold in, long over the legs. Let the head go for a moment. Push the floor away. Inhale, breath, rise to the top. Nice. Exhale, breath, the hands come down however you want, whatever suits you, whatever feels right. Take a second to pause in stillness. And we're dipping back to that forward fold, but only as a transition to get us to the floor. So inhaling breath, arms will rise up just because it makes sense to do that. Exhale breath, you're going to fold yourself in. You can move here if you want to. Maybe you want a bit of a pedal. Maybe you want to really give the arms a swing from side to side. Maybe you want to be still. Totally up to you. Any little movements that feel good. And then a very no frills transition to the floor. Bend the knees so that you can put the fingertips down on the mat. That might mean bending your knees a lot. Fingertips there for stabilizers. You're going to put your right knee on the floor and then your left knee on the floor. If that takes a bit of shimmying to get there, don't worry about it. You might want to put a folded up blanket or a pillow underneath your knees just for a bit of extra support there. That might feel good. Let me take my jumper off. Things are warming up in here. Got a siren going past as well. Apologies if you can hear that. So let's meet on all fours. Hands are on the mat. Knees are on your blanket or your pillow for a little bit of extra padding if you're on a hard floor. You're going to shift. We're going to start by just warming up the wrists a little bit. It doesn't seem fair to dump the wrists into this 90-degree angle straight away without a little warm up. So we're going to shift a little bit of body weight back. So there's more weight in your knees, which is why we want that extra padding. And we're just going to start to move the hands around the mat. I taught this on a retreat recently and said, I want you to imagine you are a little husky puppy on the edge of a lake, on the edge of a frozen lake, and you're just testing the ice out in front of you. So you're going to pad your kind of puppy paws all over the mat. And every time you lift a hand and shift your body weight and place a hand down, what you're actually doing is kind of shifting your weight hand to hand, allowing the wrists to get a bit of movement, a bit of space, but also to get to grips with how it feels to have that weight distributed through the wrist joint. See if you can take it out quite far, maybe a bit of a stretch, a puppy stretch, maybe you can bring it right in close. And then to add a layer or brain challenge, every time you put your hand down now, can you place it down at a different angle? So 45-degree angle turned in, 45-degree angle turned out. Can you place it straight ahead? Can you place it 90 degrees to the side in either direction? So you're just really allowing some mobility to kind of come into this movement. If you've got lots of space, maybe you can go for that full kind of rotation in either direction. You don't have to put any weight through that. You could do it right back here by your knees, where it's a lot easier, where there's a lot less weight being dropped through the hands. You can make these kind of angular changes. Last little layer, I'm not sure if anybody wants it, but if anybody's keen to play with it, again, you can do it right back here by your knees. See how it feels to test the ice with the back of your hand or the back of your fingers. You don't have to put any weight through that joint. I'm doing it with next to no weight. I can support myself fully on my knees. You can, if you feel strong, you are very welcome to come out here and weight there on the back of your hands, but you don't have to. Optional. When you feel ready, Bring those paws back under your shoulders, spread the fingers wide, plant the hands into the mat. Notice if there's anything that you need to change or shift around in the hands to encourage even weight distribution there. And we'll come into something very familiar. This is going to be our cat-cow. So shin bones are anchored down into the floor, and when you're ready, your inhale breath drops your belly low, opens up through the front of the body, broadens the collarbones, and very slightly lifts the gaze. You're not crunching in the neck. Exhale breath pulls the belly button up to the spine, tucks the chin to the chest, round the back body, tucks the tailbone underneath you. And you'll keep that going at your own pace. Every time you move through each of these movements, see if you can think of a way to introduce a bit more space in the sides of the waist and between the shoulders and the ears. You're going to do your very best to keep the shoulders away from the ears. Space along the sides of the neck. We're going to go for one more breath like this in this simple linear cat-cow. Next time you go for your inhale breath, drop the belly low, broaden the collarbones, lift the gaze as if you were coming into another round. But instead, from here, let's go in a different direction. Let's see if we can imagine hula hooping the rib cage. So you nudge over to the side, you round the back to come over the top, you nudge over to the side again. I'm bending my elbows here. I'm actually going to do this front on, even though it's not the most flattering angle for me, but I think it's much easier for you to see what I'm doing if I do this front on. So I'm shifting to the side, I'm lifting my upper back, and bending into my elbows and shifting to the side. So I'm kind of allowing this roll in my back body, as if I was trying to spin a hula hoop with my ribcage. Go for one more rotation in this direction. Come to the bottom of the movement where your belly is dropped low, and then change direction. So roll it back the other way. Rolling it back in the opposite direction might feel like your less familiar direction. That is okay. If it's clunky, or if it takes a bit more concentration in the other side, that's all really normal. We'll go for one more roll over here. And then in your own time, you are very welcome to transform this movement into anything else that feels good. So maybe you want to take the hips backwards and forwards. Maybe you want to bring weight into and out of the hands. Maybe you want to take a breather from being on the hands and rest on the elbows and have a bit of a wiggle there on your elbows. It is totally up to you. Any little kind of snaky or wiggly movements that you want to make here on all fours, another breath or so to enjoy them. And then when you're ready, we're going to bring the hands away from the floor, give the wrists a bit of a break. You're going to anchor down through your shins, slide body weight back, and bring yourself up to kneeling. Bring the hands onto the front of the hips, because they're super useful as a little kind of measuring tool to check in with whether the muscles here in this strong part of our postural core, our kind of support kind of area of the body, whether they're doing anything basically. So with your hands on the front of your hips, you want to be able to feel that there is some action happening in the muscles of the low belly. Not, again, that they're so rigid your fingers bounce right off them, but they're just that there is some action, some kind of slight tension, and tension in the good way, in the sense that it's doing a good job of holding us up in the front of the body. And then you're going to slide your hands around onto the back. Hands just slide around onto the back, and you'll be able to feel with your fingers if there's anything happening in the top of the bum. And if there isn't, see if you can use the fingers here as a guide to help you nudge the hips forward slightly. So you've got this kind of sensation. The front of the body draws up and the back of the body lengthens down. Two things happening at once. Slight draw up here, slight lengthen down here. Again, not so tight that it becomes all you can think about. Just very subtle little adjustments. And then once you've got that nice and strong, balanced evenly on the knees, we'll just give the hands, the wrists a bit of a shake, a bit of a roll. So maybe rolling in the wrists feels good. Maybe you want to bring both hands together and roll the fist that you've made as one. All of these just suggestions. Don't feel like you've got to rush to keep up with everything that I'm doing. Maybe you just want a bit of a shake. If you find something good, stick with it for a bit. Maybe the head needs a shake out as well. I have to say, kind of big, kind of energetic shake really does work for me. And then when you feel ready, when the hands feel a little bit more sparked up, a little bit kind of more conscious, less fatigued, we're going to bring them back to the mat, but not before we've stepped. Oh no, that's not true. I'm lying to you. I'm lying to you. We're going to bring, I'll spin around so I'm on the same side as you. We're going to bring the fingertips back to the mat and extend the right leg out to the side. Don't worry if you've not got loads of space here, because that right leg immediately drags back onto your mat. So the heel of your right foot is on the edge of your yoga mat. So what you've ended up with, and I've lifted my right hand because it makes it easier for me to do that. So please, if you need to make space, you absolutely are welcome to. What you end up with is fingertips on the floor, right heel on the edge of your yoga mat, right toes pointed out at a 45-degree angle, headed in the same direction as your right knee, and your left knee exactly where it was. That old familiar asymmetric base, which I love so much. So lots of you know this. I think, in fact, maybe all of you know this. Hands can be on the floor, or light fists on the floor if the wrists are getting tired. And we're just going to shift our body weight backwards and forwards. Noticing how things kind of feel in the hips. You don't have to make big movements here. You can nudge very gently, very carefully. You can see how it feels if you want to lift your right toes up. You can see how it feels to lift your right heel up. Just allowing the body to kind of maybe a little sway from side to side, to just sort of nudge into interesting corners. When you're ready, let's bring the left hand so it is directly under your face when you look down. So it's right there in the middle, supporting you nice and strong. So you can inhale and bring your right arm up and open. Again, go shoulder people, go carefully into this. You do not have to crank all the way up until the arms are 6 and 12 on a clock. You can keep it low, you can keep it relaxed. I don't even have a tense arm here, so I've got a bend in my elbow and a soft wrist. And then we'll kind of head into some movement. So from here, any direction you like, but a nice place to start is drawing big circles in the air. Just a nice place to get things going. And then as usual, you are welcome to head off in any direction you want to. Maybe you want to see how it feels to keep that hand really low to the ground, but moving. Maybe you want to see how it feels to place that right hand on your lower back. The back of the hand on your lower back will be more comfortable, so that you've got space to rotate through the shoulder joint. You can shift body weight around here, don't forget. You might see how it feels to reach that right arm all the way out in front, as far as you can manage. Any little movements that feel good. If you get stuck, you can repeat yourself. You can go back to circles. You can go back to opening and closing if you want. In your own time, we'll gently bring that right hand back to the floor. When the right hand comes back to find the floor, you want both hands stacked under the shoulders, so you might shimmy your left a little bit. You're going to bring the right knee back to the mat to match up with the left, and just take a moment, pause. Notice how things feel in the body, how the right hip feels, how the right knee feels, how the hands feel. You might want a stretch through the legs here. So if you're interested in that, my suggestion is simply step one leg out long, maybe give it a bit of a wiggle, a bit of an opportunity to move. When you're done with that leg, swap it for the other. Stretch the other leg. Just seems like a nice way to unfold at the knees a bit. And then when you feel ready, we're going to come into it on the other side. So we come into it the same way by extending out the left leg as best we can, given the space that we have, and then dragging the left foot back in until the left heel is on your mat. The left heel roughly on your mat or on the edge of your mat will do the trick nicely. Your knee and your toes point in the same direction, especially at the beginning. That is really important. And then from there, we just start to play with shifting body weight to start with. So we nudge forwards and backwards, or side to side. Play around with hand positioning if you want to. Try not to let the arms feel too rigid. If the elbows get really kind of rigid and locked out, this is a place where we might just transfer some tension into the elbows rather than allowing the whole body to kind of enjoy the movement. When you feel ready, when it feels like the right moment for you to incorporate the left arm, bring the right hand under your face. So it's nice and strong, right arm strong. And then you can inhale the left arm up and open. As much or as little as you want to. Remember, you've got this option of keeping the arm soft and relaxed. You can spread out the fingers wide and make a big wide palm. You can make a fist with the hand. You can come high into the shoulder joint. You can keep things really low to the ground. We are just sort of wiggling around here. There's no formal kind of instructions, which I know for some people is great, but for some people is very daunting. So just go with what makes sense. And if you get stuck, you get all stuck in your head about what to do next, draw some big circles with your arm. Allow the left hip to just do its thing, kind of naturally. As the arm moves, you'll find yourself warming up into that hip joint anyway. It's going to happen. When you feel ready, when it feels like the right moment for you, you'll bring the left hand back to the mat, not before you've finished whatever movement you're in. Enjoyed your final movement. Left hand finds its way back. Right hand squares up, so you can bring the left knee back to match up. And again, we'll just take a moment to check in. How does the left hip feel? How do the shoulders feel? From here, when you're ready, anchoring down through the shins, we'll bring the hands away from the mat one more time. The hands slide up and onto the front of the hips. You've got that little moment of just checking in. How are things here? Posturally, do we feel like everything is doing its job? I'm going to just shift my yoga mat a touch because I'm getting a bit too close to the wall for my liking. I've sort of slid back quite a lot. So from here, we're going to come into our kneeling sun salutation. So back into that familiar rise and fall through the breath, that familiar looping kind of action, but not for too long. Once you've got yourself settled, let's let the arms hang by the sides. We'll go slowly through the first one, and then we've got a couple to follow it, so you'll get to grips with the kind of pattern, hopefully reasonably straightforward. When you're ready, take your inhale breath, sweep the arms up and overhead. Exhale breath is core control. You're going to hinge at the hips and slowly, with as much control as you have, bring your hands down to the mat. This is loading heavily in the shoulders. So if it's too much, bend the elbows, bring the hands in, and then put them down again. But if you can, you're all the way down, hands find the floor. Hands find the floor. The inhale breath, slide your body weight forwards. You drop your belly low and lift your gaze. It is cat-cow. Exhale breath, pushes the floor away, pulls the belly up to the spine, rounds the back body. From this rounded position, anchor down through your shin bones, slide your hands back and up overhead as you press to kneeling. A little bit of core control on your way up and on your way down. Exhale brings the hands down, however you like, whatever suits you. When you get to the bottom, you take a moment, a full breath in total stillness, no movement. Cool, we go back in again. Inhale breath, brings the arms up and overhead. Exhale breath, pull the belly in, hinge at the hips. See if you can keep the back body long. You're not sticking the bum out, but you're drawing the belly up towards the spine. Hands touch down at their furthest away point, and then you slide body weight into the hands as you drop the belly low, lift the gaze. Exhale, push the floor away, tuck the chin round the back body. From here, slide the hands back towards the knees and inhaling, you'll rise, arms reach up and overhead. Yes, lovely. Exhale, draws the hands down. Total stillness, one breath. From here, back in, last round, inhale, breath, arms reach up. Exhale, breath pulls the belly in, hinge at the hips. Don't forget, take the load away from the shoulders by bending the elbows and bringing the hands in if you need to. Hands touch down. Slide the body weight forwards, inhale. Exhale, push the floor away, tuck the chin, pull the belly button to the spine, tuck the tailbone round the back. Hands slide back to your knees as you inhale, breath, arms are going to reach up and overhead. Exhaling, hands come down, however you like, whatever suits you, drop into that moment of stillness, full breath. When you're ready, we're going to make a transition using the first part of that kneeling sun salutation. So we'll inhale, the arms will rise up. We'll exhale and the hands will reach forwards, pull the belly in. Pause here. Let your breath just become regular, become easy and natural. Bend your elbows and let your elbows find the floor. So we're going to come into our puppy pose, Anahatasana, or open heart pose. So our palms are pressing down into the mat. Our elbows are stacked directly underneath our shoulders, not wider than the shoulders. Try and keep them narrow. And you're just going to shimmy your knees back by a couple of inches each side until it feels like you can let your belly and your chest begin to melt a bit more towards the ground. So this is a tricky shape for me to demonstrate because it's tricky because you can't see me from all angles and I don't want to jump up out of it because I'll hurt myself. So what I can do is I can exaggerate it. What you're aiming for is chest moving towards the ground. You might get to a place where you can touch the forehead on the mat. You might not. You might just be hanging out here, belly moving towards thighs, bum stuck up in the air, chest melting towards the ground, like a puppy stretching. Tail up in the air, belly low. Take a last breath here. And then pull your belly in towards your spine. Use the strong support of those postural muscles to bring you up and away from it. A bit more body weight goes into your elbows now, so that you can make a transition, stepping one leg back and then the other leg back to bring yourself simply onto your belly. So you come down, find yourself on your belly, and we're going to play with a little cobra variation. Hands are going to come out to the side. Fingers are in line with the shoulders. Some of you know this. This is our kind of serpent cobra, which I just love. Each hand is like a little spider. The fingertips are down, but the palm of the hand is up and away from the floor. So two little spiders in line with your shoulders, your elbows pointing directly up towards the ceiling at a 90-degree angle. So the hand is stacked underneath the elbow. You look like if you're doing it right, you should look like something from a horror film, from the front. That's what we like. Spread your feet out a little bit here, just to give your low back a little bit more space. You want feet maybe about as wide as your mat. So it's a bit different to our regular cobra. Because when we breathe in, we're going to press into the hands, press the hips into the floor, squeeze the bum, and lift the body up and away from the mat. Snake the body up and away from the mat. Exhale breath, you'll lower it down. You do not have to lift up high. So again, I'm exaggerating so you can see what I'm doing. You don't have to lift the body high at all here. You can come millimeters away from the mat. Let your gaze look out to the short edge of the mat in front, and then gently lower everything down. If you're feeling this in your lower back, take your feet wider, squeeze your bum a bit more as you rise up. Inhale, breath, snake it up and away. Exhale, breath, and lower it down. And it does not have to be sort of rigid and linear. It can have a bit of a wiggle to it. You can give the head a bit of a shake as you rise up. You could give the shoulders a shimmy when you're at the top. Exhale breath, you'll lower it down. We're going to go one more time. So your last round here, inhaling to rise. Exhaling to lower. When you lower down this time, stack one hand on top of the other in front of your face and use them to make a little pillow for your forehead. So you can just rest the forehead down for a moment. Maybe you want to wiggle your hips side to side. And just check in with the body. How does the body feel here? When you are ready to move on, and you don't have to rush, we'll come into our kind of final little bit of movement. And these last These last moments of movement are going to be fiery if you want them to be. But they don't have to be. You can keep it as mellow as we have been. Hands come under your shoulders so that you can keep your knees down on the floor and push your bum back towards your heels. You might have to adjust where you're positioned on the mat. I'm going to have to shimmy forwards. Again, my mat is just sliding about today. I don't know what's going on. Let's bring it away from the wall a bit, or I'll end up crashing into the wall. So we're going to move here into our first downward facing dog, our first and last downward facing dog, our only downward facing dog. Just as an opportunity to stretch out the back of the legs and have a wiggle. And if you don't fancy it, why not try a child's pose or a forward fold instead? You don't have to do downward dog if it doesn't suit you. Tuck your toes underneath, push your hips back to your heels. Use your hands to get really strong and press against the mat. Take an inhale breath. Exhale breath, your bum lifts up towards this ceiling as you unfurl the backs of the legs, and you can have a bit of a shimmy pedal here. You can move one leg and then the other. If you'd rather not hang out in downward facing dog but want to just come into it for a second, you might now walk it to a forward fold or rest in a child's pose. Or a variation of child's pose. Child's pose does not always have to look the same. If you are in downward facing dog with me, just see if you can incorporate a bit of this movement that we've been enjoying into your downward facing dog. Can you allow a little roll to come into the hips? Can you pedal through the knees, lift the heels away from the mat? Can you shake the head out? We're going to take one last breath in our downward facing dog. Maybe it's an inhale through the nose and a sigh through the mouth if you want it. And then very gently in your own time, you're going to slide the knees back to the mat. If you were in your forward fold, you can meet us back here. I'm going to bring my right hand away from the floor, to make space so I can step my right foot forwards and through. So I've come into a lunge. It's really hard to do that with two hands on the mat. So just why not make it easy for yourself? Bring your right hand away. So you've got your right knee stacked roughly over your right ankle. Your fingertips can be on the floor, or your hands can rest lightly on your right knee if that is better for you. Totally up to you. And we're just going to play around with a bit of movement here. A little slide backwards and forwards. So it doesn't have to be big. Again, mine is probably slightly bigger than I would if I was just enjoying this for myself, just so you can see what I'm actually doing. Little rock backwards and forwards. When you're ready, bring the right knee back, stack it over the right ankle, and a fiery moment for the breath. We're going to inhale the arms straight up and overhead, reach fingertips up towards the ceiling, keep the body upright. This is the place you are very welcome to stay. Here, this is a fiery shape. The body becomes a kind of rigid thunderbolt here. You're reaching up towards the ceiling, everything is energized and engaged. Length through the front of the body. If you want an additional challenge, you are very welcome to tuck your back toes and lift your back knee away from the floor. See how that feels to come up into a Highland. You don't have to, you can keep the knee down. If you're keeping the knee down, stay there. If you've got it, final breath here, you're going to close your eyes. Strong breath, inhale. Exhale. Final inhale breath. Exhale, we'll slide the hands to the mat. If you lifted the knee, you're going to descend hands back to the mat. Naturally, your body we'll probably want to pull your hips backwards, and that's fine. So if you want to bring it into a very gentle version of that kind of runner's stretch, you can. Maybe your right toes lift away from the floor a little bit, but just notice my right leg is not got any stretch straight here. I'm just keeping it as gentle as I can. From here, we're going to put the left hand on the floor, right hand gets out of the way, so you can step your right knee back to match up with your left knee. Right hand on the floor, left hand gets out of the way, so you can step your left foot forwards into your lunge. We're really working these very kind of straightforward, no frills transitions today. So let's come into that little rocking backwards and forwards. Your fingers can be on the ground, or your hands can rest very lightly on your left knee. No pressure through the left knee, no pressing down. Little wiggle, basically. And then when you're ready, final fiery moment. If you're interested in it, sweep the arms up and overhead, draw yourself up into that kind of strong thunderbolt. This might be enough. This might be plenty. If you're breathing here, breathing strong here, thinking about pulling the belly up and in, lengthening the tailbone back and down, pressing the right shin into the floor, there's a lot going on. If you want it, you're very welcome to tuck the toes and lift the knee, but that's optional. You do not have to. Wherever you are, you're going to work a strong breath and final breath. If you're interested, close your eyes. Inhale here. Exhale here. Inhale, breath. Exhale, arms come down, fingertips find the mat. If you lifted the knee, you'll gently descend. Very nice. Send when you're ready. The hips will want to probably drag back. So you can enjoy that if you want it, lifting the left toes. And when you are ready, lift the left hand so you can step the left knee back to match the right knee. And then very, very simply, you're going to come to sit side saddles. Just let your bum come down to the ground, shifting over to one side. Untangle your legs from one another. Let them stretch out long. Maybe let the feet have a little, the toes have a little wave. Maybe you want to roll through the ankles. And we're going to here, just hang back into the hands. So fingertips are going to point towards your bum. Just hang back into the hands. Little slouch, and I really like, you can't really see it because of the dark leggings on my mat. You know what? I'm just going to scooch my mat out of the way because I don't really need it anymore. It makes it easier to see what I'm doing. So I really like here to just using a kind of squeeze of my bum muscles and my thigh to just lift one hip and then the other hip. Almost a little kind of roll of my lower back. That might feel interesting to you. If it doesn't feel interesting, leave it out. You don't need to join me if you don't fancy it. When you're ready, ooh, a yawn has crept in there. That's how good a stretch that was for me. You're going to slide your feet onto the floor. Come to sit up tall. You might want to, I'm going to have to, push the floor away so you can really lift yourself up onto your sit bones. Feet are on the floor. Big hug of your knees. So just taking the body in exactly the opposite direction to where you've just been. You're just hanging back into your hands, allowing everything to kind of stretch out long. You're going to give your knees a hug, let your head hang in. Nothing has to touch here. So if you're a little further away and you want to grab wrists or hands, you're welcome to. If you can get right in there and grab opposite elbows or wrap the knees up, you can. Just let the head hang for a moment. Allow the breath to slow itself down in this little kind of cave that you created for yourself. And then when you feel ready to unfurl from here, all you're going to do is make your transition into your Shavasana. If you want stretches on the way, you're welcome to take them. If you need something else, feel free to go ahead and enjoy it. But when you are ready to lay yourself down in your final relaxation, you might want to grab some layers. I'm going to put my socks and jumper back on because it feels like the right thing to do in this room. But when you are ready, gently lay yourself down in a position that feels like it literally fits the brief. So Shavasana literally translates to mean final resting pose. Some people say corpse pose, but they're the same thing. Final resting pose. So Shavasana at the end of your practice wants to be the place in which, the position in which you can finally rest. So it might be that you want to lay yourself down flat on your back, legs outstretched, palms of the hands facing the ceiling. It might be that you want to lay yourself down, but keep the lower back flush to the ground by bending up the knees and keeping the soles of the feet on the floor. Your hands might want to rest on your belly. It might be that you want to lie on your side, using one arm as a pillow. Find the position in which you can finally rest. You can finally drop yourself down into a place of ease. And we have some time to spend here in our Shavasana. So make sure it really is a comfortable place. And start to bring your awareness into the body. By which I mean, begin to narrow your focus. Begin to become really aware of how you have positioned your body here on your mat. Be really aware of the 2 inches of air around your body. What's happening there? What's the temperature? How does it feel? Become really aware of the places that your clothing, mat, or blanket make contact with your skin. Feel the softness of your clothes against your skin. Maybe feel the coolness of your mat against your skin. Perhaps you can feel the weight of the blanket. And then draw in a layer deeper and become aware of what's happening under the skin. At the muscular level, can you soften and relax? Can you allow your heavy bones to simply rest? Bring yourself in a layer deeper and invite the mind to join your body in this quiet softness. Can you encourage a sense of ease in the mind? A restful state behind the eyes. Allow your whole body to float here, suspended in this place of total ease. And every time the mind wanders off or fills up with the bits and pieces of everyday life, remind yourself that there is nothing to do here but bask in this effortlessness, allowing sensation to simply move through the body uninhibited. When you feel ready, begin to bring your awareness back through those layers, returning your attention to the mind, noticing this restful, easy state. Return your attention to the layer just below your skin, your muscles, your heavy bones. Noticing this restful, easy, relaxed state. Return your attention back to your skin, noticing the places the body makes contact with clothing, with your mat, with your blanket. And then return your attention to the 2 inches of air around the body, the way the body is positioned on the mat, the air at the nostrils. Starting to invite in a deeper breath. And as you invite in a deeper breath, perhaps you can encourage some small movements to begin to wake the body. A wiggle of the fingertips, point and flex and stretch of the feet, a roll of the ankles. Maybe eventually there is enough energy coming in for a full body stretch, a reach of the arms up and overhead, lengthening the body out, like a yawn for the whole body. When you're ready, maybe you're hugging the knees into the chest and give yourself a bit of a squeeze before you very gently roll yourself over onto your favourite side. Pause there for a moment if you want to. Bringing yourself in your own time kindly up to a comfortable seat. Maybe the eyes stay closed or the gaze is cast down towards the floor. just soaking in these final sensations of your practice. If you want to seal your practice with a gesture of gratitude, you're very welcome to. Maybe bringing the hands to heart center, bowing the head to the heart, or anything else that feels right in your body. Thank you so much. Thanks, guys. I'll come a little bit closer so I can see you better. I hope you're all doing all right there.
That was